Famine had struck, leaving its mark on both the land and the people. The other children, hungry and bitter, took their frustrations out on the boy. To them, he was a symbol of the curse that plagued their land. But even as the other children pushed him away, the boy found solace in the gaze of one child, the young princess Adana. She was just 5, but her eyes held a warmth and understanding beyond her years. She smiled at him, her presence offering comfort that words could not. The boy ran, tears stinging his eyes, to the only person who had ever shown him unwavering love, his mother, Nkem. He buried his face in her lap, crying out the pain of rejection and confusion. Nkem, with the wisdom of years and a heart full of love, gently stroked his hair. She knew the burdens her son carried, but she also knew of his great destiny. In the days that followed, Nkem took her son into the forest, teaching him the skills he would need to survive and protect himself. She placed a bow in his hands, showing him how to aim, how to shoot, and how to trust in his instincts. Strength is not just in the body, my son. It is in the mind and the heart. Learn these lessons well, for they will guide you when the time comes. But Nkem's husband, the man who had raised the boy as his own, knew that survival required more than just skill with a bow. He took his son out to the clearing near the village, teaching him how to fight, how to defend himself with his fists, and how to stand tall in the face of adversity. A warrior's heart is forged through hardship. You must never let the world's cruelty break you. Stand strong, for one day you will be called upon to defend those you love. Though famine had ravaged the land, some moments of light still remained. In the palace compound, Agadagidi found solace in the presence of Princess Adana. Their laughter filled the air, a rare sound in these troubled times, but the peace between them could not last. The young prince, now nearly 10, arrived with a group of older boys. Taller and more imposing than Agadagidi, the prince's face was twisted with scorn and jealousy. The boys surrounded Agadagidi, shoving him, laughing cruelly as they tossed sand onto him. It was Princess Adana who acted first, her small figure stepping between the boys and Agadagidi. Her voice, though young, rang out with fierce protection. Her shout carried across the palace compound, reaching the ears of the queen and king. They arrived quickly, their expressions stern and curious. The king's voice, though authoritative, revealed a hint of pity and discomfort as he ordered Agadagidi to go home to his parents. As he turned to leave, his heart heavy, he heard the soft sound of Princess Adana's tears. She stood at the gate of the palace, watching him leave, her small frame trembling with sorrow. Later, Princess Adana, seated with her father on the throne, asked why Agadagidi was hated and disliked by all. The king explained that the priestess had prophesied Agadagidi as a child of doom. A flashback unfolds, taking us back to a conversation between the king and Agadagidi's father. The king, troubled by the prophecy, asked Agadagidi's father how he would be replaced in the fight for the kingdom. Agadagidi's father requested to raise the child as his own, promising to protect. The king's decision was influenced by this plea, which led him to keep Agadagidi in the kingdom despite the prophecy. As Akuni questioned why Agadagidi was not sent away, the king's words revealed the weight of his decision and the bond forged through sacrifice and trust. I made a promise to Agadagidi's father, one I cannot break, the king said. He fought for this kingdom with his life. And when he asked me to protect the boy, I could not refuse. Akuni stood in silence for a moment, his brow furrowed. But the tension between father and son remained palpable, unbroken by the king's explanation. The king's eyes flickered to the shadows once more, as if sensing something just beyond sight. That is why he remains, the king continued, almost whispering now. But the prophecy, it still lingers, like a dark cloud. And we must be ready for whatever comes. Agadagidi in the village outskirts, focused on his bow and arrow. His movements are precise, each shot filled with the strength and skill he has been honing. In the background, Adana is quietly watching him, hiding among the trees. Agadagidi drew back the bowstring with steady hands, his gaze focused on the distant target. The bow had become an extension of him, a tool of precision and control, something that helped him forget, even if only for a moment, the weight of the world placed on his young shoulders. But he wasn't alone. He could feel the soft rustle of leaves nearby, hear the faint giggle carried by the wind. Without turning his head, he sensed her presence, the one person whose heart had always seemed open to him. With a quick flick of his wrist, he adjusted his aim. The arrow whistled through the air, slicing towards the tree where Adana perched. As Agadagidi rushes to her side, a smile spreads across his face. Their laughter echoes through the trees, filling the moment with warmth. He reached down to help her to her feet, his smile mirroring hers as they stood together beneath the shade of the trees. "How did you know I was there?" Adana asked between giggles, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Agadagidi shrugged with a playful smirk, his voice light but teasing. "I always know when you're near." The connection between them was undeniable, a bond that grew stronger with each passing day. With Agadagidi and Adana laughing and playing when Akuni and the other boys appear in the distance. Their approach is menacing, their intentions clear. Akuni's mocking voice cut through the air like a sharp blade. "Look at him, the cursed child playing with our princess. Do you think you belong here?" Agadagidi clenched his fist, but he kept his focus on Adana, trying to ignore their taunts. But then, Akuni reached out, yanking the necklace from his neck, the one gifted by his mother. The tear of the necklace was like a spark igniting a wildfire. Agadagidi's anger surged uncontrollably, his eyes flashing an eerie shade of blue, as if something ancient and powerful had been awakened inside him. Before Akuni could react, Agadagidi lunged forward, his fist connecting with a savage force. The prince staggered back, clutching his cheek where blood now trickled from the fresh wound. As the fight raged on, the sounds of villagers shouting filled the air. The struggle between the boys grew fiercer, until several men stepped in, pulling them apart. "Enough," one of the elders bellowed as they dragged the boys apart. "This madness will not be tolerated." Akuni, nursing his injury, sneered at Agadagidi, while Agadagidi's chest heaved with fury, his eyes still glowing faintly. The two boys were forced to their feet, their arms held tightly by the villagers. "Take them to the king," another voice ordered sternly.